By the year 2050, the world's population will increase by 1/3 to more than 9 billion people. Most of this growth will occur in today's developing countries. Expanding middle classes worldwide will create consumer demand for goods and services that will increase energy and water consumption and shift patterns of food consumption. Will America's agricultural and food systems be ready to play their roles in meeting the global challenges ahead? Our guest today has emerged as one of the leading voices talking about the challenges and opportunities of global food production and distribution, or the new geopolitics of food. Dan Glickman is no stranger to agriculture or to our organization. After an 18-year career on Capitol Hill representing the 4th District of Kansas, where he sat on the House Agriculture Committee, he then moved to the very distinguished position of U.S. Secretary of Agriculture during the Clinton administration. Secretary Glickman went on to serve as chair and CEO of the Motion Picture Association of America and now holds a number of positions where he can lend his expertise on matters of policy, business, and global challenges in food and agriculture. Dan, welcome. It's great to see you again.
Connie. Glad to be here.
You know, you've said that we're going to have to take a little bit different look at agriculture policy in the future. Why is that?
Well, the issues are much more global than they ever did before because we're going to have 9.25, 9.5 billion people in the next 30, 35 years. And the demand for food is going to be greater, particularly in countries like India and China, where there's a growing middle class and people want better food. They want to eat more like we do, or they eat in Western Europe. And then you have all these challenges. The challenges, for example, of global, whether you call it global warming or global climate change or weather variability. Farmers have to meet these threats of very changing weather patterns, and which have implications for disease and drought and pests. So anyway, it's just a much more global, much more different world, and more mouths to feed, and much more interest in diet and nutrition than we ever did before. So just a combination of issues have put agriculture and food issues higher up in the pecking order than they used to be.
We've certainly seen that in dairy. What do you think that's going to mean for how we write the next farm bill? Will there be anybody paying attention to that?
Well, you know, I've been watching, as you have, the super committee work, and not probably as closely as you have. And in one sense, it was probably not a good idea to write a farm bill in a kind of in the midst of a national or international budget crisis, and things were going to be left out, and there was no way to influence the system, and it wasn't very transparent, and you just can't do things that way. And I think, in a sense, it's good for agriculture that nothing happened there, although not good for the country. I think that the country needed the deficit reduction package. But be that as it may, I think you're going to see a lot more folks involved in a full farm bill debate than you've seen before. So you're going to see the health community, you're going to see the non-governmental organization community, you're going to see the business community. You know, it used to be that when other people wanted to play in the sandbox of the agriculture members and the committees, we resented it. But now it's going to be there's going to be a lot more interest there, and plus the whole budget and fiscal picture of the United States affects agriculture spending a great deal. So, you know, my guess is that we will continue to support farmers and ranchers. But I think you're going to see nutrition issues play a bigger role, conservation issues play a bigger role, and global agriculture issues play a bigger role than they've done in the past.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good thing. You're with this organization, AGREE, as a co-chair. Tell me a little bit about that, how it's funded, what its purposes are.
Well, the name is kind of cute. It's AG, then REE. So, you know, putting together AGREE, and the purpose of it is to bring people of different perspectives in food and agriculture together to look at these issues from a longer term perspective rather than the next farm bill. The second thing is who's involved in it. So for the first time you have the largest foundations in the world, certainly in the United States, as the funders of this effort. So it's entirely funded by the Gates Foundation, the Ford Foundation, the Rockefeller Foundation, the MacArthur Foundation, the Hewlett, the Packard, the Walton, the Kellogg, and there are probably some. Okay, now so these people have never really been involved in agriculture policy before. A lot of them have been involved in development issues or poverty or in some cases rural issues. And so they're looking at all of the issues from how farmers are supported to how to deal with rural development, what our research agenda ought to be, diet and nutrition are part of this. How does agriculture relate to non-agriculture in the world? So they're looking at these from a long-term perspective. And this, in addition to that, there are a lot of very complicated issues, contentious issues. What's the role of genetic engineering? Should we have it? Should we not have it? If we do have it, under what circumstances? Those issues have tended to be very polarized, and we want to see if we can take issues like this and, if possible, bring people together or at least have a venue for legitimate and thoughtful discussion.
Sure. Well, you might think, might guess what my next question is. It's whether you have any views about how dairy might fit into this new global situation.
Well, one thing I'm reminded when you said the word dairy is that I'm thankful that as a former secretary, I don't have to deal with national dairy policy, because I found myself always between and betwixt different regions of the country and all people with legitimate interests, by the way. But look, dairy has an important role in terms of the health of individual citizens and the health of agriculture. And you know, whether it's in part of a nutritious diet, whether it's part of longevity, a lot of studies show that calcium, vitamin D are very important for longevity and fighting cancer and other kinds of diseases, and protein is obviously an important part of our diet, and so, you know, and so I think that dairy policy and the issues that dairy farmers will continue to face have to be looked in the context that it's an important part of the health of Americans. So that's why I'd like to see if we can tie the health with farm policy as well. Good. And you know, there'll always be discussions about how much to do it and where to do it and what makes sense and what the American consumer will support, how much money we have, all those kinds of things. And dairy is particularly unusual because it's so regional. It depends on where you're located and what part of the business you're in, whether you're producing or processing or selling or these kinds of things. But in any event, I'm certainly a big fan of dairy as part of the American diet, and it's going to be a big part of our next farm program.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. And we certainly agree with all of those points, and we'll be working hard to get something done on dairy policy. Well, we're so excited that you've agreed to kick off our 2012 Dairy Forum with this bigger picture of how we should approach ag policy. I think it's really important for us, and we appreciate you getting a glimpse of what that might be all about.
I didn't tell you the whole story just now, so
that's good. Well, it's just to whet the appetite.
Right.
We both invite you to join us at the Dairy Forum January 15 to 18 out in sunny La Quinta Resort and Club in Palm Springs.